Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the BJJ Foxcast. I'm your host, Alex Martinez. And today, I have a good friend of mine on the podcast, Paul Manganaro. He is a black belt under Gustavo Dantas. It's still under Gustavo Dantas, right? Yep. Under Gustavo Dantas. And he is also the owner of Roll Union Gis and Apparel. Paul is, he and I have known each other, we've known each other for what, about a year and a half now, maybe 2 years.
More than that, yeah.
Yeah, more than that.
Years.
And so thanks for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So let's jump right into it, man. You are a fairly new black belt, and you are one of the morning coaches over at GD Jiu Jitsu. Yep. Yeah, Grace. Mm-hmm. I keep wanting to say Gracie. Gustavo Dantas, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, yep. And in Tempe. And tell me about that, man. How did you come about? Did you start there as a white belt?
I did.
Okay.
So my whole experience has been at that gym. So
yeah.
I started when I was 38 years old.
Yeah. So
being a new black belt, we're talking less than 2 months. So,
wow.
As you know,
yeah.
I just got promoted recently.
Yeah.
So it's been an awesome journey. 10 years at GD, and I've always trained in the morning class there.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, that's something we shared. We were all morning guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at Gustavo's, it's called the early bird class.
Yeah.
It's Zombie Crew.
Zombie Crew.
You, and,
that's right.
Every gym has its own name, but
yeah.
Started as a white belt, 38 years old. I was looking for something new and different to stay in shape.
Yeah.
And I had kind of bounced the idea around. I knew a couple people that were training. So this would have been in like 2010, 2009.
Okay.
Which, if you know, there isn't a lot of gyms even out in the valley at that time. Yeah. Yeah. It's incredible, the growth that's happened in the last 12 years.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a lot out there. I kind of tossed the idea around, and then finally I just jumped into it. So
nice. Yeah.
Took a leap, and, it was new to me. I wrestled 1 year in high school, so I had a little bit of grappling, but that was, I'm 38 years old at this time, so that was 20 years prior.
Yep.
A little intimidating going into Jiu Jitsu Academy, not knowing what the heck to expect.
Yeah.
And that was it, man. I tried out one other gym locally, and I went to GD. The second gym I tried out, I was going to try a couple out. I knew I was looking for a morning class.
Yeah.
Because I worked for the utility company here in the Valley, so. I knew I had 9 to 5 work, so I had to get some more training in the morning.
Nice.
And I found GD. They had just started their morning program at that gym. In fact, the academy that I train at now and I'm an instructor at is, at the time, was 6 months old. So they were just opening this academy. Yeah. Gustavo had been teaching for many years prior. Yeah. He's been teaching for at least, I think, 27, 28 years. Yeah. So that's it. He's a tremendous person to learn under. Yeah. Tremendous academy and lineage. We're from Nova União. Yeah. So I kind of just immersed myself in it, As a white belt especially, the classes were small in the morning, so I got a lot of one-on-one instruction with black belts.
Nice.
So whoever the black belt instructor was in the morning, sometimes I would get privates because there would be no one there. Yeah. Growing, they were growing the academy and growing, especially the morning classes. They're a little bit slower to grow, from what I can see from other gyms. Yep. Maybe not so much now because jiu-jitsu is just blowing up with middle-aged people, especially that are working during the day. But it's definitely back then. 2, 3, 4 people a morning, a mix of. I was always getting smoked. So, I mean, being a new white belt, there was no white belt class at the time. There was no fundamental class here.
Same here.
You know how it is. You've been in it long enough. Yeah. Everyone was in the same class. So yeah. That was it, man. So I just started there. That was in 2012, and I never stopped training there. So
that's awesome, man. How many classes? How many days a week, or do they have the morning class?
5 days a week.
5 days. That's good. That's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, and our classes are Mondays and Wednesdays are the fundamentals. I teach those, and then I teach Thursdays an advanced class. Okay. But our fundamental classes are routinely getting 16 to 20 at least every morning, and it's a big class for 6:30 in the morning to see that many people show up. Yeah. It's I'm really enjoying it, and I get a kick out of the thing about coaching is you see the growth in people. It's so rewarding. Yeah. It's Now I've been coaching for 2 years there. I started 2 years ago as a brown belt. I had been a brown belt for a year, started coaching, and I never looked back. I just took every opportunity I could, and then eventually it became a second job for me. And man, it's in that time I've seen people just in 2 years, it's incredible growth. So that's very rewarding for me. So.
Yeah, I think, we Tojo and I were talking about this on the podcast, and when you see somebody walk in as a white belt, and then you see their growth, and you see them grow and grow and grow, and all of a sudden, like, they're on your back, and you're like, hey, wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
But that is a true testament to the coaching and their really, like you said, you immerse yourself in their ability to immerse themselves into the sport, because that does not come easy. No. Taking the back of a brown belt or black belt now is not an easy task. And if you set your sights high and you really apply yourself, you can pull it off.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, where you come from, and I think that's great, man. So tell me about the dynamic in your classes, because I know in my morning class, I teach Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, just the gi, and we have a lot of professionals in that school, and like you said, a lot of middle-aged men and women are starting to get into the sport. Are you seeing that trend? Are you seeing like a lot of career people coming in early in the morning and then getting their workouts in and then heading off to work?
I mean, it's probably 95% of our class.
Yeah.
So, and I've been there doing this for 10 years. So even as a lower belt, white belt, blue belt, the first, I was a white and blue belt for 4.5 years, that period of time. I recognized it then, because that's what, during that time is when you start making the friendships in the gym.
Yep.
That was one thing I didn't realize when I signed up, was now I have a family that's outside of my own family. Yeah. Which is, it's just, I mean, the fact that I'm sitting here on a Jiu Jitsu podcast, I have my own Jiu Jitsu podcast and an apparel company. I mean, I'm in this stuff.
Yes.
So I think that's part of finding joy in Jiu Jitsu, and training and teaching, coaching, is immersing yourself in it.
Yeah.
And really, with like no second thought.
Right.
Just diving head first.
100%.
And that's exactly what you're saying. It's all on you, on how much you're going to train, how much you're going to advance and study.
Yep.
So to answer your question, so I teach 3 days a week in the morning. Some of the challenges in the class that I found is moving quickly through things. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And this. I would love, I'll set a system up maybe for a Monday, Wednesday, the fundamentals. It's so important that you make both those classes.
Yes.
Yeah,
so man. Yeah.
You miss the Monday, you miss the first part.
Yep.
Sometimes.
And it's very important too. Yeah. You go a lot of detail.
Yeah. You can't repeat everything. That's one of the things, because I'm very, very much planned out, and I want people to learn it in a stepped fashion. Yeah. So, you're missing a week here or a day here, you're just missing the whole system. Yeah. Because I like to teach in little systems.
Yep.
And that's my own personal touch onto the curriculum.
Yeah.
Gustavo has written all the curriculum for us. He's an excellent instructor, a wizard in terms of technique and knowledge 100%. And history. We have a fundamental curriculum and an intermediate curriculum that we stick to pretty closely. The advanced is more from the coaches, comes from the coaches, and just more advanced stuff. We don't, that's once you have all of this stuff. We'd like to get you through the fundamentals, the intermediate stuff, get everything, get you tuned up so that you're at least ready to learn some more advanced stuff. That's not to say we don't have maybe longer term white belts and blue belts in our advanced class. That definitely happens, but it's going to be harder for you to pick up some advanced skills if you don't know the fundamentals.
100%.
I mean, we definitely know that. It's fun to try them, but as I think we could all use some more learning of the fundamentals.
Yeah, and I think we talked. I think we talked about this on your podcast, and just so the listeners know, give us the name of your podcast.
It's the Road to Black podcast. Yep. So I've been on liaison for this last year, 2022. We haven't recorded. I'm just going to put that out there, but we're coming around. We're going to do some more episodes at some time, but there's 50 episodes booked.
Yeah.
We were cranking through them. We had one a week.
Yep.
It's a lot to keep up. Alex was our last guest we had on there. Go check him out. Very much discussion. Guests sometimes, but my partner and I would discuss all kinds of topics.
Yeah,
So,
I loved it. I really loved your podcast, and I'm kind of bummed that you're not still doing it.
We will be.
Okay.
We had to take, like I told you before the show, I got a lot going on.
Yeah.
And we can get into some of that, but I'm of the person that I like to put 100% into things.
Yeah.
And if I can't do that, or I'm half-assing something, it's just, we put a pause on that.
Agreed. Yeah.
And
There's
it's
nothing
there.
wrong with that.
It's still a podcast. It's still online. You can go check them out. I still have people listening to the episodes and contacting me. We'll get another episode out soon, but yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about this on your podcast, on the Road to Black podcast. The belts, the belt system, which I think I love it. I love everything about the jiu-jitsu belt system. Every time I learn something about the belt system, like a kid system or adult system, I'm like, what a great idea.
Yeah.
So, but I have noticed that, somebody gets a new belt, and like, I think Wes said it, the belt felt kind of heavy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not quite sure if I'm ready for this. And I've heard a lot of purple belts like tell me, coach, I'm gonna start working a little bit more, fundamental stuff. I'm like, bro, you've had 5 years to work on that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You should have that. I'm not saying you got to have it down, because I still learn a lot. I love teaching my fundamentals class. I teach the evening fundamentals 3 days a week, and I still study. Like, it could be, as simple as a hip bump sweep. I'll just go back and I start looking for people doing it. Hadra Gracie's a great, wealth of knowledge.
I study Hadra a lot.
A lot, man, because his fundamental game is so beautiful, right? Yeah. And he's so, I love what he says about, the way he learned technique. He's well known for being able to get mount and staying on mount until he chokes you.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
But he said, I think I was watching one of his seminars that he did at Henzo's place, and he was saying, I didn't develop a good mount game until my black belt.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there like, this is like the best in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it took him that long to nail it. So you guys got time. However,
exactly.
You got he worked on that his whole life, right? If you're dabbling, it's going to take you a lot longer, right?
You got to focus on the training outside of the gym.
Yeah.
That is where I made the biggest advancements.
Tell me about that. Say more about that.
What I mean by that is, if you're, especially for, I can say this definitely for like a part-time grappler.
Yeah.
If you're just going a few times a week.
Yeah.
Which was basically my whole experience. 3-4 times a week. I competed a little bit at white and blue belt. Competed a lot more at purple belt. Challenged myself a lot. But I've never been like I started at 38 years old.
Yeah.
So I'm also always through the last 10 years trying to maintain my body, my health, how it is. But what I mean by that, I see people advancing more when they are doing the external study, because you can only get so much direction and instruction from your coach.
Yeah.
And I'm a coach, and I know this. If you're only with me 4 hours a week, what you can go learn 3-4 hours. It's infinite.
Yeah.
The information out there.
100%. Yep.
That's why we've also you've seen the gym versus gym mentality go away. There's more cross training at open mats. There's more acceptance. It's made the community better.
Yeah.
And that is because the access to information is there now.
Yes.
Before, you didn't have the information. You had to hold on to your gym information. We're not going to share secrets.
Yeah.
It's gym versus gym. It's very well known in the jiu-jitsu world. In some places, it might still be that way, but here in the Valley, it's pretty open. And a lot of that comes because you have so much access to information.
Yes. Yeah.
So I always recommend taking notes. And this is tough. And I know there's been times when I hated doing it, or you don't do it at all for a while. But I did advance more, especially when I was a blue belt. I started just writing down what I learned in my own words, and I would go to work and I'd be working all day, but I'd have a little notepad there.
Yeah.
And it showed what I've worked, and I would make a little calendar.
Nice.
And all it is a little mental reminder. And I tell my students, if you can just do that and look back, and it even gives you a sense of satisfaction, like you've learned something.
Yep.
Look at, this is my last month. This is the things I learned. Even if it just says close hip bump sweep to counter to Kimura or something,
Yeah.
But in your mind, you can train your mind to recall those things.
Yeah.
So it's like they say, if you write something down, you remember it.
Yeah.
It's true. If you go through class, we've all been doing this. You and I have been doing this long enough. A lot of techniques go in one ear and out the other.
100%. Yeah.
So you got to make something stick. So I always tell them, if you want to apply this to your game, or you feel like this is something you can utilize, make a note of it. Make a note of what we've done today. And then build your game upon that. And it's just good habit to get into. Now, if you want to go more advanced, start looking at systems. And obviously this is very academy or coach dependent.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to tell everyone to go study outside your coach.
Right.
Talk to your coach about what you're learning.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I want to put that out there first.
No, I like that.
But for me, I made my biggest advances when I hit, later stages of purple belt especially, but brown belt when I started teaching, I started studying a lot.
Yeah.
And that is where I can see what Hodger was saying, is because I know fundamentals, but when you start really looking at them at a deeper level, you pick up on little things where it's like, I've never even called that detail out. Right. And so you find those types of things when you get deeply, and anyone can do this.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
People are like, well, you've advanced a lot since you've been teaching. Yeah. Well, you could do too if you studied all week long, like I'm doing.
It's available to everybody.
So,
it's not closed to, it's not the Middle Ages where you have one person reading the Bible and telling you what it's in it. You know what I mean? This is like all the information's out there. And it's
out
readily
there.
available.
You got to know how to take it in, consume it, and then put it in play. Yeah. Right. So, even when I was a purple belt, I was looking at other, the advent of just Instagram instructionals,
Yeah.
So my Instagram now, I'll just say it. I have folders saved of every position.
Same thing. Yeah.
It's a wealth of knowledge. Mm-hmm. So I can go back, even let's say I'm off curriculum this week and I'm just going to have a day where I can teach whatever I want. Yeah. Or I'm going to teach some advanced system. I know what I want to do. I'll go back, look at a couple of videos, start putting together something. And it's just, when you get that good at understanding what you're looking at and the technique, then you can start building systems. And that's kind of what I do on top of our curriculum, is just, this works. If this doesn't work, we're counting with this. I'm always teaching another avenue.
I love it. Yeah.
So that's my whole direction, is having a few choices. And for example, one of the simple things I teach is like a deep lasso system. So deep lasso, if they put this leg up, let's say they start on their knees and you have them a deep lasso, they put this leg up, we're doing this sweep. Yep. They put this leg up, we're doing very simple identification. So new people, they can just say, okay, and that's how I teach it, is like, and then if I roll with them, I'll stop, I'll bait them into putting my leg up. Yeah. you missed that, or you got it. Yep. And that's how I can determine. And that's just a simple explanation, but I do that with basically everything.
I love it.
And that's just me. Every instructor is different. I teach 3 mornings a week. Gustavo teaches one of the classes, and then Josh Rodriguez, a good friend of mine, teaches the no-gi. We have a no-gi on Friday mornings.
Oh, nice.
So Monday through Thursday is in the gi in our class. Friday mornings is no-gi. And then our school has classes all throughout the day. Yeah. So every day.
Josh was one of my first instructors. He was my morning coach. Over at Nava's place. He and I developed a really good relationship because, again, the morning class was new. Yeah. There might have been 3 people in there. So we were basically getting private lessons from Josh, which is awesome. He was a purple belt and then got his brown belt shortly after. But, man, he's such a great guy.
He's my favorite grappler. Yeah. Honestly.
Yeah.
The guy is incredible. He's like a wizard with his knowledge. And it blows me away, and I see him all the time. But he's just still to this day, even when he was a lower belt like you, he's teaching at our school too. Yeah. Or like, he was teaching you. Yeah. He's just got a jiu-jitsu mind. And he can compete with the best of them. He's a great competitor, but an excellent coach. Yeah, he's a great coach. Yeah. He's got all the skills. Like, he's always working on, and the thing I like about Josh is he's always he'll stretch. He's a wizard at like lapel system. Let's say. Yeah. Okay. But he never does that anymore. Right. Ever. Yeah. And it's like, oh, this guy has a whole skill set that he never does anymore because he's pushing himself. When he wants. Yeah. So he's really getting into a lot of the leg lock game, as in understanding that, because he takes great pride in being someone that filters the main information in our gym. That's the guy. So he's one of our, Gustavo and Josh, they're top. Yeah, for sure. I going back to teaching fundamentals and studying, one thing that I started doing is next week we're going over arm bars from mount, and
what I do is I put myself in that situation and I start executing arm bars from mount in my live rolls. And I'm like, okay, against white belts, pretty simple. Against blue belts, I felt resistance here, and I'm making notes of that. Yeah. And then against higher belts, they didn't fall for this. They kept this. Maybe their elbows were flared. Okay, how do I break that down? Those are the things I'm studying.
Yeah.
Because my goal, it's really, I don't want my students to be able to submit other white belts. I want them to be able to submit me. Like I want them to be able to execute that on the highest level possible. And really, that's what I'm studying for. And once I started doing that, dude, I'm telling you, it changed my teaching a lot, because I can definitively say this is why this isn't working, because a higher belt knows it's coming and they're going to do this. And once they do that, you can do this. And like you said, you're giving them other avenues as well, so they don't get that tunnel vision, on that move.
Tunnel vision that's the number one thing newer grapplers do.
Yes.
They just don't have the skill set otherwise. So I always try to build upon that because I knew that I struggled with that. You don't want to be a one-trick pony, because once people figure you out,
that's it.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have some other game, and especially if you're competing and things like that. But in the gym, you got to be trying out new stuff. I preach that a lot. There's some of the best competitors have a couple moves that they hit all the time, and I think for competition, that's entirely appropriate.
Yeah.
But I always just tell people, especially if you're not competing, it's like, what kind of grappler do you want to be?
Yeah.
Do you have aspirations to be a black belt? And what kind of black belt is that?
Right.
There's black belts that are amazing competitors, but they might not have the breadth of knowledge.
Yeah.
And that's just, everything is subjective in jiu-jitsu, right? Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But do you want to be the person that has, that can play a little game everywhere?
Yeah.
That's, some people want to do that. And I mean, meaning you want to know all the positions.
Right.
Maybe you're never going to, that's why jiu-jitsu is beautiful, because it's
infinite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's never a stop. It's it's only yourself that's holding yourself back, right?
Yeah.
You're just saying, I don't even know anyone that says I can't learn anymore, because let's be honest, that's a stupid statement.
Yeah,
It's like,
it is.
I mean, if you don't enjoy it anymore, that's another aspect that I talk about a lot on my podcast. That could drive people away at any belt.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm big on, like, your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah,
It's huge. That's what I see. Successful gyms, successful coaches like yourself. There's something about being in the room. I mean, and we're fortunate. We have good gyms and academies that have that.
Yeah.
They're not all like that.
Right.
I've met plenty of people that have trained at places they don't really like to go there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that in and of itself is key, is to find a good group of people, even if it's a different class at time of the day.
Yeah.
You gotta, that's what's gonna keep you engaged.
Yeah. And one thing that I notice is, going back to, the old school, the not sharing information, nobody cross-trained in, back in the day, all of that. I can kind of understand why that came about, because if you have somebody like Gustavo Dantas or, Josh Rodriguez and yourself teaching your students all of this stuff, and you're putting in the time to learn this shit. Right. Yeah. I mean, you're really dedicating yourself to understanding the system, the concept, and how to communicate that to your students. And then your student goes somewhere else and starts teaching people your stuff. I can get behind that. I'm not, listen, I love when my students cross train. I do, but I can understand that standpoint. I really can.
Yeah.
But I think, like, how should I put this? I think when it comes down to, putting in the time, it should be more of a labor of love. You know what I mean? Like, I want to walk in 100% prepared. I'm not going to wing it. I'm certainly not going to wing it when I walk into class, because I think when you, like we talked about on your podcast, when you wing it, everybody knows it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, because you're not ready. Yeah, as a coach. Yeah, you're
100%.
You're not, and now you're doing your students a disservice, because because you're not prepared, you're jumping into the middle of a system. You've skipped a bunch of stuff that you should have taught before, and now you're just showing a move, right? Yeah. And they can't execute that move because they don't understand the whole system. They don't understand the right grip. They don't understand the right body position, the right hip to be on, stuff like that. So
totally.
Yeah.
It's, and that's, you got to find a good coach.
Yeah.
You got to, that's another thing. It's just hard. I've done a lot of study on the overall picture of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It's because I'm in jiu-jitsu oriented businesses.
Yep.
it's paramount that you find a good gym, but what is good? Right? I mean, it's that too is subjective.
Yeah, it is.
You know, you can read reviews and I'm not even thinking of anyone in particular, but I always bring up this topic. It's like, even take it for myself. If I'm a new black belt and I go open an academy, I can start teaching, and I feel like I have a good tight black belt, as Gustavo would say. We want our belts tight in our gym, and that means you ain't getting promoted until
you're ready.
Yeah. So, but if I go and start teaching things, then I do have my own flair to it.
Yep.
And let's say I wasn't as skilled, or I didn't come from a lineage as ours, where you have a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu is getting watered down with just so much out there. What I'm saying is, newer people, even newer black belts, might not have as much knowledge as someone else, but to their students, they think they're learning something.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I've had actually people talk to me about this, where students of mine, they've been to other places and they thought they were learning good jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, they understood that things are different in other places. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah, and Paul Nava talked about that, because he got his blue belt through a different person, right? Went to train at Gustavo Dantas, and he got worked. He was like, everybody in the room, every blue belt, white belt in the room was working him. Yeah. And he's like, oh, there's a difference.
Yeah.
Right? But I truly believe that the way you do anything is the way you do everything.
Yeah.
And when somebody walks into an academy and they start training, I think they'll start seeing common sense kind of takes over, and you're like, okay, well, this guy's never prepared. The place is, it's freaking, closed half the time. Instructors hardly ever show up. The morning class is usually like one person, and, whoever shows up, the highest belt teaches. They're going to drive their customers away. They're going to go somewhere else, because places as professional as GD, as, Nava's, as Kishino's place, as our place, we really pride ourselves in being professional. Those are the ones where people walk in and they're like, okay, this is going to work, and especially when you're, like you said, we're drawing more professionals in the marketplace, right? And they're coming in and they have an expectation. They know.
And they have the option now.
Yep.
That's what they didn't have in the past, maybe.
Yeah.
You only had a few options.
Yeah.
So you better pick the most, that's how I ended up at GD, honestly, because I did enough research to know there's a couple gyms in town that have this much pedigree and history and
lineage is
the word, really.
Yeah.
That was legit. So just so happened our academy is right in near where I worked. So it worked out fine, So I went on the way to work, and that was, I just kind of went through the ranks. And how I came about to be an instructor, going back to your first question, is basically there was an opportunity. All throughout, I've always been there. So I'm the first person to ever go from white to black belt training in that class.
Wow, so cool.
Now I'm an instructor in there. So
nice.
It shows I have a lot to do with this class.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
There's a lot of this class that's me.
Yeah.
Because I pour my heart into it, and I'm there all the time, and this is what it's become.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. And that's why people like that, and that's the vibe they like, and they friendship. And honestly, it's just friendships. I'm friends with all my students in there, even newer people. You make fast friends in that class. It's just a really good vibe.
Yeah, and lifelong friends.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So all my best friends they're now jiu-jitsu people.
Yeah,
you spend a lot of time with the people.
Yeah.
So you both share a passion. That's obviously you're going to find some fast friends. And, it's been cool.
Yeah. So, you had mentioned your other businesses, and I want to talk about those. I want to talk about your gi and apparel line. I love the new stuff that's coming out. Tell me about that. How did that come about? So for those people that don't know jiu-jitsu and don't know about gis, the market you can get a gi with any kind of patch, anything you want on it. You took the plunge and you started your own gi company. Tell me about that. How did that come about?
I had a previous business in the Valley that I had just recently, through COVID, we just shut it down, basically. Yeah. So, but through building that business up, I understood that at first I wanted to have my own business.
Yeah.
And that was, I used to own a cryotherapy company, as you know.
I love that place.
Chill Fit Cryo.
Yeah, it kept me healthy.
Yeah, me too. I miss it. I miss the treatments.
Yeah.
But through opening that business and just being a business entrepreneur, I understood after a while that I really love the entrepreneurial avenue.
Yeah.
But that business wasn't as closely related to my passion as I wanted a business.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's really how I got into Roll Union, is that even for years I've wanted to do an apparel company.
Okay.
Even before I trained jiu-jitsu.
Okay.
I just always, had skate t-shirts, surf t-shirt. I love, just that type of clothing. And I always wanted something. I never had the concept.
Yeah.
So when I got into jiu-jitsu, I was looking at, there's the big apparel companies out there. And so as I became an entrepreneur, I came up with a concept that I wanted to have my own apparel company.
Yeah.
I thought it would be cool.
Yeah.
Honestly. I mean, that's, I've always had the nicest gis, in the room and stuff. So I just wanted to put that like personal touch on it and just create my own thing. Because I just got into this creative mode.
Yeah.
As I get older, so I worked 20 years for utility, just doing 9 to 5, going to, but once I started getting older, I'm realizing you only have so much time in this life to do something that you're passionate about.
Yep.
So jiu-jitsu helped me find that passion inside of me about being passionate about something.
I love it. Yeah.
That is really the first passion.
Yeah.
Because I've worked out my whole life.
Yeah.
But it was never the passion that BJJ is. So
yeah.
that kind of set off a more exploration of myself, saying I need to get back to what I wanted to do when I was a kid, which was be more artistic. I was an artist, but I dropped all that because got to go to school, got to get a job.
Yeah.
So now I started picking it up and like 5 years ago, just doing more graphic design, diving into that hobby of mine. I always did it on the side.
Yeah.
I've always done content creation. When my kids were small, I would be the one. I made video DVDs for Christmas. It's a lot of video editing.
Yeah.
Photoshop. I've always been into that stuff. So and graphic design. So I think 3.5 years ago, I just came up with the concept of this brand, and Roll Union. It's just obviously what it sounds like. It's just togetherness, and even the emblem, the logo, which I never really explained before, but if you know the logo, it's like an interconnectedness.
Yeah.
So that's represents two people doing jiu-jitsu. Really, I mean, you can't do jiu-jitsu without another person.
That's true. Yep.
So, that's it, and it's just a union. It's also a play on words from Nova União, because I'm from New Union, Nova União Jiu-Jitsu. So this is Roll Union, and I just started diving into it, and I just started getting creative with it, and that was it. I knew how to do a business. Yeah. I already had my own business, so I knew how. I basically just took that framework of running a business and applied it into a different, industry, much more creative. Much more, I wouldn't say much more, they're both very satisfying to have, the jobs I've had. And because both businesses I created were 100% myself. Yeah. So I just poured all my creativeness into it. And as you know, with Chill Fit, that was a big part of, it was just a cool shop. Yeah. So with Roll Union, we've been around for 3 years. So I went online 3 years ago. I put a gi out, and to be honest, when I see people wear this gi, that particular gi, I kind of cringe, because I'm like, it's literally called the first one. It was literally called the prototype, because I was just messing around and trying to see if this was going to work. Yeah. But it took a couple of years to develop relationships with my team that make the products. But I design everything, and it's fun. It's cool to have it. It's hard to explain, but when you create something, it's awesome. When, like, if you're an artist, you paint a picture. Yeah. Someone buys your photo, or you're a photographer, and they put it up in their house. Pretty proud. I get to see that on like the world stage. Yeah, that's a cool. Like when someone wins worlds and they have, that's it. Or when you're on the podium and you're wearing my gi, because you're one of the people that wear it, and I appreciate that. But it's a cool feeling. It's like, okay, I created that. People know about it now, but I'm also helping this athlete out, and it's cool. So it's been fun. Yeah, and your designs are awesome, man. You do a good job. Like, every time you drop one, I'm like, okay, this is gonna be hard to top. And then you drop another, I'm like, holy crap, that was a smart idea. But you've got several sponsored athletes, okay? And I've always been curious, like, how you pick the athletes you're going to sponsor. I mean, there's
there's people that wear your apparel that are not sponsored athletes, right? It's moving along. Like I've seen it more and more, especially local tournaments, and I saw it a lot at Worlds. And normally I recognize people that are wearing your stuff, and there were some people that I didn't. So it's like
that's good news for me.
Yes, that's great news for you, right? Yeah. But how do you pick those sponsored athletes?
It completely depends on. Well, first of all, and let's talk in general terms. It depends on the company who's sponsoring. That's the number one thing, because if you're talking like a large company like a Hyperfly at this point versus someone like myself, it's going to be a completely different reasoning.
Gotcha.
Qualifications, everything, you know. For me, so if you're looking for a sponsorship, you have to recognize the company that you're dealing with, okay? Yeah. And by that, in your mind, if someone might come across Royal Union, it's very professional because that's the way I make it. Yep. I'm professional about it.
Yep.
So, you know, everything looks good. The apparel's good. I try to do as much as I can with the, you know, the social media and the advertising and stuff. But you also have to know that this is a small company that's 3 years old.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be the same as if you can go to a bigger company that may have more reach or more money to give people or to help people out.
Yeah.
That's if you're at high level. If you're just, you know what I get the most, and this is from both companies I've owned, because even at my cryotherapy studio, I had a lot of people in the combat sports world wanting to get sponsored.
Of course, yeah.
So
hell yeah.
It wasn't the cheapest service, so people, and you know, and I appreciate that. I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
But you know, what I would recommend is that people at least purchase something from that company.
Yes.
This is like the number one thing I can tell people.
Yeah.
I'll get people saying, "Hey, can you sponsor me?" And I'll get a long email or a long message.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you don't even know really who I am.
Yeah.
Or what I stand for.
Right.
Or what my apparel is.
Yeah.
It's almost, to be honest, it's almost offensive that it doesn't make sense to me that if you're just looking for a sponsorship from anyone, okay, I get it, but I'm more of the fan of person that would want to wear your stuff because it feels good or it fits good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I know people that are sponsored by companies that they don't really like their apparel.
Wow.
It's like, wow, well, it kind of, you know.
It defeats the purpose.
Yeah. I mean, I guess if you just want to say you're sponsored.
Yeah.
You know,
right.
There's that out there too.
Yeah.
There is a lot of that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, so to answer your question, I just work with people that I see some promise, if it's a younger person, or I really look at the way the people act. That's 100% how it is. That's how I got a hold of you. Yeah. To be honest.
Yeah.
That's how we became friends. I just reached out to you because I respected you. I didn't even know you. I just knew you trained at Paul Nava's.
Yeah.
And I was like, look at this guy. He's my age. He's getting out there competing all the time. You know, I looked up to you in that way, and I didn't even know you, but you were on the scene. I'm like, this guy's hustling. You know, I could see his work. I saw your jiu-jitsu is really good. And I was like, part of my target market is middle-aged people.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're the middle-aged model for me.
Well, thank you.
In a way. I mean, I'm saying that in jest, but to be honest, jiu-jitsu is no longer just a young man's sport. You know, I still see people, I'm not in the adult category anymore.
Right.
Go look at Master One and Master Worlds and tell me these people aren't savages.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there is no switch like being an older athlete means very little in terms of that anymore, where you lose, because not only do you have people that are just better qualified or better skilled, but now you have all these legends that have been training they've been black belts for 20, 30 years. Yep. Now they're in the categories. Yep. So you're no slouch if you're competing. So I just don't like that.
I hear you.
So I get that a lot. You know how that is. It's like, as an older athlete now, I just see so many old studs everywhere. And women, you know, that are just killing it. So.
Yeah. And you know, it's funny, like, you know, as a black belt going in, you know, Masters 4, I'm shaking hands with people about to fight, guys that I YouTubed when I was a white belt. And I'm like, do you realize who you are, dude? Like, it's really humbling,
surreal. Man.
But I had Kishini on the podcast last night. There was a group of us. And he was talking about, you know, if you think winning Masters is easy, go do it. Try it. Don't train. Don't train because it's so easy. You'll get your ass handed to you. Yeah. He trains his butt off. He's, I believe he's Masters 2 now. but he still trains like he's an adult.
Well, if you saw his performance at Master Worlds,
5 subs,
unbelievable, all different,
all subs, all different. Yep.
That's quite, and it's no joke. Master 1, Master 2.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. To go back to your question, I mean, every athlete is different in the way they approach me or I approach them.
Yeah.
So one thing I would just say is understand the people your company, because I want to work when you sponsor someone, and especially if you're a owner operator like I am. I don't have a team that handles sponsors like maybe a bigger company does.
Right.
Where the owners, they don't have to even have a relationship with these people. They're getting bigger names. So if you're not a big name, if you're a bigger name, you could go and get a bigger company sponsorship.
Sure. Yeah.
They might pay for some of your tournaments. They're going to give you a ton of apparel, support you in a different way. Every company's different. I know I have friends that are sponsored by bigger companies. I know what they do. For me though, a smaller company, you got to form a relationship.
Yeah.
Otherwise it doesn't mean anything for me.
Yeah.
You're not really going to help. It's not that you're a Gordon Ryan and you're going to make me rich.
Right. Yeah.
So no one is like that.
Yeah.
To be honest, there's only a few people in our sport that can.
There's only one Gordon Ryan.
Yeah. That can literally bring up companies like that.
Yeah.
So what you have to understand is like, you got to develop, for me, it's about the relationship. So I like for you, I just contacted and asked if you'd be interested, and we just became fast friends. It's like just chatting about jiu-jitsu, and I'm a very personable person. I can get along with pretty much anyone. So I knew we would just form this relationship once you said okay. So it's just cool because then I have a friend that's competing, showing off the gi.
Yeah.
You open your academy.
Yeah.
People see how slick Alex looks on the mat.
It's a great fit, dude. Makes me look way better than
exactly.
I am.
Well, hey, I got to sell that. So
Yeah.
I gotta soundbite that and send it to me.
Yeah, definitely. I'll tell you what though, when you reached out, and it was a really cool message you sent me. It was very humbling, and I'm still humbled. Like, we've been together almost 3 years now, and it's one of those things, like every time you send me something or I get something in the mail, or like today you brought some stuff with you, I'm always like, I want to go out of my way to just walk up to you and say thank you, because it means a lot, man. Like, I'm completely humbled by it. It's not lost on me what you're doing as a business owner, because I'm one too. Yeah. And I feel like, I don't know why, in my mind, I was like, you're taking a risk on me, right? Mm-hmm. And so I feel like I need to deliver. You know what I mean? So I love the gis, I love the apparel.
Awesome.
So yeah, man, thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
I mean, I knew who you were from afar.
Yeah.
I could tell your personality, and I had talked to you once before or something, and I have friends that know you. So that's all it took. And I just was like, I'm looking for good representation of my product. Yeah. That's it. I don't want any drama or
craziness.
Or you don't have to be a world champion either.
Right.
It's to be I'm looking for people that affect others in a positive way.
Yeah.
Okay. That could be from you coaching, amazing. Love having you on the squad. It could be a younger athlete that has, that might be a world champion someday. You know, they have different needs as you do. I don't want to. It's not all about apparel. I want to be there for a friendship too. Yeah. So I try to like people that I try to like boost them up or send them messages. Or that's a one-on-one experience that you're not going to get from a bigger company.
True. Yep.
But I also don't have deep pockets. I can't
right.
afford to support everyone.
Right.
Yeah. And support comes in different forms and fashions.
Of course.
And so it just depends. I just so far want to support local people that I highly respect in the sport.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like, just have a relationship. And it's cool for someone to be able to wear a specific gi. And if you don't like the fits and you don't like the gis, then don't do it. Like, it's not for you. I'm just saying, but it's usually people that they're either, a couple younger people I support now, they both purchased my gear before. Yeah. They were already wearing it in their tournaments. Yep. They had it on the podium and posting photos. Yeah, yeah. See where I'm going with this?
Yeah, of course.
They were working for me already.
100%.
And I'm not saying that in any kind of take advantage of way, but I'm saying those people, they're doing that before I was even helping them to help my business. Yeah. That's how much that is meaningful to people that have businesses. So Throwing up your gi up there, being proud of that moment. It's like, hey, what better somebody to represent my gear than someone that already loves it and is killing it, and they're good. They have good character. They, you know, a lot of it now is social media, to be honest. So even if I'm close with you, I probably wouldn't entertain the idea of supporting someone at these times without being very, very much on social media.
Yeah, yeah.
In my business, you almost have to be.
You got to be.
So it's gone are the days of when you can just win a tournament and go up and take a photo, and that's good for your sponsor. Now, it's awesome, but you got to work as a team, because for them or for me to provide things, I also need help. I'm incorporating other people on the team.
Yep.
That's all. And I'm just reimbursing you in a different way, other than like a paycheck. You can look at it that way. Yeah. Because that's really what it is in bigger companies when they're sponsoring people. The larger companies in my business, they'll have you sign a contract.
Yep.
And you have to be very, very much, in fact, some of them you have to post this many times.
Yes. Yep.
So, and they track that.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm not at that point. I just hopefully work with people that I can trust. And I usually will say something like that. It's like, hey, just throw me a shout out, but it goes back and forth.
Yep.
I like to share people's experiences, put other eyes on the athletes that are wearing my stuff, not just for my stuff, but for those people.
Yeah.
You know, we all rise together.
Absolutely.
That's my attitude.
Yeah.
And I'm one of you anyway.
Yeah.
I'm a business owner I'm an jiu-jitsu apparel business owner that trains and teaches and coaches. And there's not many of those.
There are not.
Yeah.
There are not.
Because it's hard to do all that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm just saying there's jiu-jitsu apparel companies out there that are run by people that really don't even train. So at least I like to hang my hat on that. It's like I'm wearing this stuff every day. Yeah. And I have high standards. Yeah. So I test all this stuff before I put it out. It's been great, man. I mean, it's a slow grow business. It's not my number one job. Right. I do have a career otherwise. And so you can put as much time as I can. And so I'm thankful for all the help from all the people I work with, and including people that are my friends that just always buy my stuff and wear it with no regard. Yeah, yeah. And they're not doing it just to be, because everybody doesn't do it. Right. So it's not for everyone, but you know, people, I hear it all the time, how much people like my gear. So it's been awesome. Yeah, that's cool, man. I think you're doing a great job. With the designs are really cool. I really like those. Where do you see that your apparel company in, say, 3-5 years? What's your goal for it? I mean, I'd like to grow it to where it is sustainable. Yeah, where it can weather some storms if it needs to. Right now, it's very much a small company, so I reinvest a lot of the profit back into the company. Yeah, it's all of the profit. You know, it's not anything that's making me rich. Right. So, but it's new. You know. I think I heard Bear from Show You Roll say after it was like 6-7 years in, and they were thinking about closing down shop. It's a slow game, man. Yeah, it's a slow game, and it's a tough, especially now. There's so much competition. Yes. Yeah. So for me, it's 100% about making relationships. Yeah. I'm at the local tournaments. Just got to get out there and get people to see it, because there's enough room for everyone, obviously, but you just got to give people something that. And for me, a lot of that is the relationship. Being local, I have no problem if all my customers are from here for now. I'm friends with a lot of people. Yeah. People know that they can get like a local made product. A lot of people like that. So, or a local business. So growing it, just growing it, growing our team, getting some more big wins. It's fun to go out to tournaments and see people wearing the stuff. And I kind of feel bad because people message me after, oh, I'm sorry I didn't come through or something. And it's oh, come on. I'm like, I don't, it's not even like that. There's never been a time where I've been disappointed in anyone. It's just as you're like a coach, you're happy for your student to go out and compete. Obviously if they make some mistakes, they have something to work on, but it's never, I'm just proud of you for getting out there. And the same thing if you're wearing my apparel, I don't have any high expectations, and that's just not how we are. It's just like, hey, go have fun. I just want you to look good while you're out there doing it. We'll get some cool pictures. It'll be fun. It's something to be proud of as a competitor as well. to be representing someone, as you said.
Absolutely.
You kind of have this expectation on yourself. Now,
Yeah.
you want to make them feel proud.
Yeah.
That definitely exists with everyone I work with.
Yep.
And, but just grow it. And I'm not going anywhere. So
Cool.
that's the thing. I don't see myself slowing down with jiu-jitsu anytime soon. So
Yeah.
why not? I run this business in conjunction with my passion.
Yeah.
As I go, I'm going to
Yep.
grow the business. I'll meet more people.
Yeah.
Sponsor more people, have more eyes on the product. I've been real quiet these last couple months because I've been just working a lot on getting a whole new lineup for like 2024 or 2023 in terms of product.
Oh,
and just
okay.
having more professional advertising.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a lot behind the scenes, but as you know, man, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to do the social media, to do
Yeah.
the emailing,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of giving you this is how it is when you're an entrepreneur and you're starting a smaller business, Maybe some point I'll have a team that can do some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But for now, it only makes business sense for me to do it and control everything.
Yep.
And that's it, man. It's
Yeah.
just putting it out there.
It's really it's interesting because you're kind of like there's a real dichotomy going on with an artist who is also a businessman. You know what I mean? Like a business person. So that's really rare because like you're very professional in your delivery of the product. Your website is, your website's really good. It's really easy to navigate, really easy to purchase. So start buying on the website. So, but at the same time, I'm looking at your designs and I'm like, man, this guy's good. Like your brain,
Yeah.
your artistic brain and your business brain work hand in hand. It's really good.
They're good, but it is always a struggle of can they both be great?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where a lot of creatives struggle with the business side or vice versa. If you're business, you're not going to have the creative, but a lot of creatives will struggle with the business side
Yep.
a little bit because it might not be your cup of tea. Maybe I'm good at some, but there's always something more. You know what I mean? If you
Yeah.
have somebody just dedicated to the business side,
And you can
that's
just
when
run.
you can really
Yeah,
take off.
Yeah.
So I'm torn between time.
Yes.
The number one, my most favorite thing about the business is the creative side, and it's the least thing I do.
Yeah.
So, and
Yeah.
that's just the struggle because to do some of the creative part of it, I have to sit down try to find a 2-3 hour block at a time is what I'll do and brainstorm and really just get into creating things in my graphic design program.
Yeah.
And then things start flowing, but
Yeah.
it's an hours long and it might not come that night. Or
Yeah.
maybe I do stuff that I'm not proud of or I'll never use.
Right. Oh yeah, there's got to be a cutting room floor stuff.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that. And I also have to have the management side, the business side to say, I have a lot of stuff in my mind in terms of design, but I can't just put it out there because it has to be able to sell.
Yep.
That's the downside. I'm like, I have really cool stuff right now, but
Yeah.
how much can I sell? How long can it be on the shelf? I mean, we're a small business, so it's not like we have this constant flow of hundreds of people always.
Or a warehouse to put everything in.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah.
It'd be great to get there, and
Yeah.
and we can do that. But for now, I can only do as much as I can. But I'm saying, got some new stuff coming out this next year. I think it's going to be a good year. We're going to be at all the tournaments here in the Valley,
Nice.
AZBJJL, and get a lot of exposure that way. And people this last tournament I was at, I was kind of shocked because I was coaching, so I'm in the coach's aisle in the middle.
Yeah.
And I just see so many athletes wearing Royal Union. I'm like, I don't even know these.
It's
I
awesome.
used to know everyone that wore them.
Yeah.
So that felt good and I saw a bunch of people's hands being raised on the mat and up on the medal podium with my gi, and I do not know who they are.
That's
so
great.
That's really great. And
Yeah.
I know a lot of people in the community. I go to the tournaments. I'm coached there. You see a lot of people, but there's over 1,000 athletes at this last one. You can only know so many.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So
you
are
only
you,
recognize so many.
Yeah. Are you going to branch off and into fanny packs, backpacks, anything like that? Is there any plan for that?
Yeah. I mean, I have some ideas for all that, but again, it's the demand.
Yeah.
And right now I'm just trying to build up the gi side of
Yep.
it and our no-gi gear as well.
Yeah.
I think we have some of the best rash guards out there,
Yeah,
to be
for
honest.
sure. Yeah.
And that's because I spent a lot of time on them. That's what people don't see. Same thing with the gi. I went through trials of making gis and I don't like this fit. Let's do this. And you have all the different sizes. So there's a lot to consider.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of always, the process is never ending.
Right.
You know, I'm always trying to, like you said, every next one is better and better. It's like, okay, yeah, in my mind, I haven't even really begun releasing the good stuff.
Right. Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Well, we'll get there, but it's also, I have to get up to a level where I can release, let's say like a special release or something that sells out, where I have enough clients that are like waiting for gis. Right now, you know, you got to be training a lot to need new gis, right? So, you know, just got to find the right market and go from there. It's just, I appreciate everyone that's wearing that stuff out there. I'm super stoked to see it. So.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like anything else, man. Like when I was gonna start this podcast, I was like, there's so many podcasts out there, and the more you dig into it, the more you realize there's not a whole lot of competition if you look at it in a certain way. Number one, if you're good, you're gonna stand out, right? And you got to understand, you're going to suck at first.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So over time, you're going to get better. And as long as you stick with it, you might get good one day and then stand out. The other thing is when people are doing podcasts, and I'm sure like there's apparel companies coming up and shutting down all the time, is they may have great ideas, but they don't have that stick-to-itiveness, I guess is kind of a word.
Yeah.
And just like in the podcast world, of the 2 million podcasts that there are, I think there might be 1 million active ones. And of those 1 million, some people are releasing like once a month and they're still considered active.
Right.
So they're really not, those guys aren't even in the game. So you can almost remove a third of those, right?
Yeah.
And so the pool is smaller. So my mentality is if I stick with this and I get better, maybe I'll stand out and it could turn into something. Right now, just like, it's not, it's a passion project and I love doing it. But it could turn into something or
100%,
not.
Yeah.
Either way, I'm happy doing it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best attitude to have. It's like it's like Jiu Jitsu.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
It's exactly like that. And that's how I look at all my projects now. It's like, and when I started Jiu Jitsu, I just knew, hey, 10 years, you know, they say about 10 years. I'm like, okay, you can't really wrap your head around that. But I'm like, at some point I started thinking early on, okay, this is going to suck for a while. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm not going to want to go, but I knew I had the work ethic because I've had work ethic my whole life.
Yeah.
Always had a job since I was very young.
Yeah.
I just knew if I stuck with it, kept learning, I would look at a long distance goal, but almost like a dream.
Yeah.
I wouldn't write it down or say I want to be this, but I would always be like, okay, let's just think about it for a few seconds here. If I continue this and I don't stop, at some point, I'll be a black belt.
Yeah.
And that was my goal at the time, not even really knowing what a black belt was, right?
Right.
Now, black belt's just another step on your journey. It's like the entry level to be able to learn the more advanced stuff.
Literally the base of the mountain.
Exactly.
You're not at the top of the mountain.
No, not at all. So, but to that point, that's how that's how you look at the podcast, and that's how I look at my apparel company. It's like, okay, I'm just going through now. I'm having fun. I'm creating stuff. We're making some money. Keep it up. Keep going. And just like in jiu-jitsu, we'll advance. We'll grow as long as I keep on it. And keep the dedication.
Yep.
And it's the same thing with podcasting. At some point, I see myself being 10 years more mature, 10 years with 10 years more worth of customers.
Yes.
That type of thing. It's a slow grow. You got to, these types of small businesses and an academy is much in the same way. You got to develop relationships, and that's really all small business.
Yeah.
You got to have the relationship, and sometimes that takes time. Sometimes it comes at you quick in certain ways, but a lot of times it means just having good reputation and just moving on and making good networks that you meet other people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, not being afraid to make mistakes, like, make the mistakes, fail a little bit, learn from those failures, just like jiu-jitsu, right? You're learning a new move and you're trying it out and you get smashed.
Yeah.
Same principle in podcasting or anything else that you do, right? I mean, it's just,
it's 100% the same. You have to be the thing about podcasting is you got to be a little bit more willing to be in front, like make the mistakes in front of people.
Yeah.
And much like teaching,
Yeah.
Even as an instructor, you might not have the best day, or you might have forgotten to show something, and you know what I mean? If you're in tune to what you're doing, you kind of are critical of yourself sometimes.
Yes.
But that's why I have so much respect, because I do this as part of my career, is instruct jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Yeah.
Like, I admire people that do it, such as yourself, because it does take a lot of, you're just tuned in, and every night you're putting yourself out there. No one's really, you're going to scrutinize you, but you know, you want to do your best. You can imagine having like one of the original Gracies watching you. It's like,
dude,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's, you want to be, so you're on a stage in some sense. Anytime you're a teacher of anything, if you're a teacher, you're on a stage, you're teaching people, everyone's attention's on you. So you want to do your best. Same podcasting. That was the one thing for us too, is like, we're just having this conversation. And if we say something, we never edited ours one time. It's
beautiful.
So, you know, we're just, what that proved is we're decent people. Yeah.
So, you're good people.
We're not, you know, we were never on there talking shit or anything like that. We just talked jiu-jitsu, and to your point, for us on our podcast, we were putting out one a week, which is a lot of work for a couple people that already have 2-3 other jobs going on. So, you know, for us, we did 50 episodes. It wasn't every week, so it was maybe like a year and 3 months worth, and we were plowing through them. We have a lot of great episodes if you want to check it out, the Road to Black podcast. Yeah. But to your point, neither of us at some point, we both talked and did one of these. We're like, okay, time out. Yeah. We've been blasting through these. It's been amazing. Yeah. Sometimes you have to make a shift or a change. Sure. Yeah. So that's kind of what we did in that sense, is like, okay, we got to slow this down. Either let's do them, put them out slower, or because we never did this before, right? You know, I mean, we're no podcast experts, right. So, but it was well received. And my point is you got to kind of pace yourself, and that could be the same in jiu-jitsu as well. So we were going, you know, one a week, boom, 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 boom. It was a pace that ultimately we couldn't keep up with. Yeah. So we've taken a break for a while, and that's okay. You know, the content's still out there. We still have the platform, and that's our podcast. Yeah. But like, you got to kind of pace yourself so you don't burn out, I would say. That's another part. And you can do that in jiu-jitsu too. And I've seen that as well, where someone is much more involved or active, maybe in their lower belts or blue belt, let's say, and they might even competed a ton. And then for some reason, it's like maybe the competition was the only part of the enjoyment, or you know what I mean? Yeah. You don't see it often, but that's why jiu-jitsu it's a good to set some long-term goals, but just live in the moment and try to just be consistent, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But don't go crazy. Like I always tell new people, I'll have brand new people come in, and I'm like, okay, so how many days are you planning on training? And I'm waiting to hear 2 or 3. Yeah. You know, oh, well, I'm going to do, 2 a days on 3 days. No. Just hold off. You're brand new. Like, let's just at least, can you do that is what I will talk. You know what? It's like, you don't want to.
That's a valid question.
Because people don't know what the workload's like mentally and physically. And especially if you already have a job, I don't want you to just come and then burn yourself out or get injured by training too much right away. Yeah. And that's just one example, but, you got to make it work for you. And the one thing I never did, though, was stop training. So I've never, I mean, I think my longest break was a serious knee injury during COVID time, and that was it. 5-6 months later, I was back on the mat, and, in the end, I hit my goal of 10 years. It was never really a hard goal. Yeah. But that's just the way it worked out. Yeah. I trained for 10 years, and I was awarded my black belt this year. So
that's awesome, man.
It was awesome.
That's so cool. Congratulations on that, by the way. That's freaking awesome.
Feels good.
So let's talk about, let's go into those injuries a little bit, because I'm always curious. There's a couple things that have happened to me that have made me, kind of sit back and think about, do I really want to continue doing this? Believe it or not. Yeah. And it's one of them is, I have, adult acne, and it flares up, and then I just bleed everywhere. And I'm like, man, I don't want to do this. Like, I never said I'm going to quit, but if there's one thing that drove me crazy, it was that. And finally I got it under control, but I was taking a lot of, antibiotics and stuff like that would just make me feel like crap. And it just,
sounds terrible.
It was horrible. It was horrible. And it was like a cycle. Like I would get off of them and I'd feel good, but then I'd break out, and then I'd get back on them and I'd feel terrible. They just drain me, because you're literally killing even good bacteria. Terrible for you. Yeah. So finally I got off of them, and, there's some topicals that I found thanks to a friend of mine, Christine. Shout out to Christine. She helped me a lot. And man, I'm so much happier. I feel so much better. But is there something that in your past that has been like, man, maybe jiu-jitsu isn't for me?
No.
Good. Yeah.
But, you know, I've had a serious knee injury that's still bothers. It happened a couple of years ago, and it's still, I'm having some issues with it lately. And it's really just tenderness, you know, so it's ligament stuff. But I've always been one to just lower my own expectations sometimes and train around things, especially at my age. You know, you got to be realistic. One of the reasons I jumped into teaching so much is that I realized as an older grappler, as you're getting older, you're not gonna be able to keep up with the same pace.
Right.
It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You can be there's some crazy freaks out there.
Yeah.
And you know, you can still train, but I'm not going to be able to get the same amount of training as like a 25-year-old that I might be rolling with.
Correct.
So it just, you know, and so looking at that, I started understanding I need to start and this happened several years ago. I need to start the mental more. If I can't ever increase, it's like I always wanted to go an extra class or two, but it just never happened.
Right.
Because I have other things going on.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I'm 48 years old, so you have to really manage your body, you know, and take care of it, because I know if I go too hard and then all of a sudden something flares up, now I'm out for a couple.
Yeah.
Now I have to really take it easy.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a very fine balance.
And while you're taking it easy, you're getting out of shape.
Yeah.
And then if you're getting out of shape, you might be eating like crap. And then it's just cascades into the cycle. And then you like, you can't wait to get back, but you're like, oh no.
Yeah.
As soon as I get back, I'm going to get killed.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely it. You know, I mean, I try not to think about that too much, because I'm just like, we got such skilled people. I'm like, I know I always am like, oh God, I haven't rolled in like 2 weeks, you know, something's flared up but you know, you get on the mat and you're fine, you know, but it's really just the balance of, that's the one thing I can say is I started pouring more into the mental because I couldn't be at the more classes for the physical.
Gotcha.
Okay. So that's one thing I can recommend to people that are middle-aged grapplers is really dive into the mental part, because you can learn a lot and then apply it when you are on the mats. Right. So I'm a firm believer in that. So, and for us, that can just mean we have an online school as well. So you can go and study the videos you can be in there every night. And then if you can only get in 3 days a week, you can apply that in your roles. You know, you're thinking about those moves, and I've done that plenty of times, you know? So, you know, it's the balance of staying healthy, and it's managing around the frustration. You know, I've had the most serious injuries I've had were rib injuries. I had one I've had 3. The last one was a few years ago, and it was my back ribs.
Oh, those are terrible.
I went to the hospital because I thought I was having a heart attack.
Holy crap.
Yeah.
That's next level pain, dude.
Next level pain.
Yeah.
And it hit me 30 minutes after I got off the mat. I even rolled. I know exactly what happened. And then I rolled 2 more times. Kind of got jerked. I got jerked the wrong way, and I kind of tweaked my whole back and popped my cartilage in my rib in the back. Oh. Yeah, so man, I thought I had a heart attack.
Yeah.
I went to the urgent care. Oh, your heart's fine. I couldn't walk for 2 days.
Yeah.
I've never experienced anything like that. And it was during that time I was like, oh, am I even going to be able to, how long is this going to take?
Yeah.
You know, because rib injuries are very tough. If you have cartilage stuff in and I've treated a bunch of people with cryotherapy with this, you got to rest.
Yeah.
You got to rest.
That's it.
Depends on how severe, but usually 4 to 8 weeks. You got to rest it up, because I've seen so many times people are like, oh, it feels better this week. And they go, and then they just flare it up again.
Yeah.
And it goes on for months.
Yeah.
But,
and all you need is one little twist.
Yeah.
Or one little push the wrong
injury.
way. It's a tough injury, man.
Can't sneeze.
Yeah.
You know, can't go to the bathroom.
Can't sleep. It just sucks, man.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So, but the knee one is the more nagging one for me. I mean, and it's the knee that I always have, like a lasso or de Oliva.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's just a lot of, it's my MCL and meniscus on the inside. So I just work around it. Like right now it's been sore. I did roll several times with my students this week, but I just kind of made sure I was being okay.
Babied it a little bit?
Yeah. A lot.
Yeah.
Babied it a lot, but that's what you got to do. I was in Europe for a couple weeks, and that's when I walked so much.
Yeah.
I got back and my knee was super sore.
Yeah.
So I'm still feeling that. So, you know, managing around it and just, that's it. But I always kept a positive attitude. And I tell my students this as well, is like, even when I was a blue belt and I got a lot of gym cred, from this, from just from my peers and my coach and stuff. But the first and second time I hurt my ribs, I think it was white and blue belt.
Yeah.
It was basically, one was like this guy put on like a body triangle from the back and just like literally crushed.
Squeezed, yeah.
The other one was just being under somebody's side control, like top heavy pressure.
Yeah.
And both times though, I knew that I was going to be out for a while, but I came into class anyway and I just sat on the side.
Yep. Beautiful.
And I knew I would get good instruction, but I could stay involved. And I knew mentally. Mentally, I got to keep checked in, because at that point I wasn't like a diehard like I am now. You know, I didn't live on the mats.
Yeah.
But especially when I was the white belt, I'm like, okay, I need to stay involved here. If this is going to take 6 to 8 weeks, which it took like 6 weeks or whatever. But
yeah.
I recommend that, stay, if it's a longer, especially if it's a longer term injury, stay involved, go to open mat, sit on the side, keep up with your friendships, you know, it's like, because
and people miss you.
Yeah.
They miss you. Like some people may think it doesn't matter if they show up or not. It matters.
Matters a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's cool.
It is. And and you've seen it enough, I have friends that I haven't seen in months. I'm like, okay, where you been, man? And then you see them again. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
But the injuries can really derail your progress, you know? So you have to go into it with a mindset that something is going to happen, but you can train safe. I mean, I haven't had that much stuff. Most stuff over my career. And I've also, like I said, I started when I was 38 years old. Yeah. So not a young man, I wish I was 38 now, but not the youngest of man. Yeah. If a 38-year-old would say, I wish I started at 18 or as a kid, Yeah. But, you just gotta, if at this age, you just got to manage everything and just hope and know that things are going to happen, but just work around them and stay motivated.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Most of my injuries were like ligament stuff, like sore tennis elbow or sore neck or a lot of soreness. But I also owned a recovery center, so I do a lot of recovery.
That worked out like a champ.
Yeah, exactly. So if you can't get to cryotherapy or an ice bath or
compression therapy is huge.
Do that. Do hot sauna. I'm a big proponent of that. Hot tub.
Yeah.
Anything you can do, especially younger people I see bounce back all the time. I'm always so envious. I'm like, man, you just had a serious shoulder issue, already back. I'm like, that would have taken me a year to heal. Yeah. But take care of your bodies. I mean, I was always a huge proponent of that with the cryo, but now I just try to get it wherever I can. I probably don't do enough.
Yeah.
It's tough. It's a tough sport.
Yeah, no, so. and that's solid advice, man. Everything you said there, especially taking care of your body, and start at a young age, because you just never know. We all get told we can't do something anymore, right? For some people, it comes sooner than later. You could be 25 years old and you just can't train anymore because your body's just so banged up. So that's really good advice to take care of the body. But speaking of taking care of the body, I want to get into you're a diabetic.
Yep.
And I want to know how that affects your training and how you kind of work around, I don't even know how it limits you. I don't know anything about it, like what it does to you physically, but I can imagine it can hinder you a little bit.
Well, it's actually, you have to think about it all the time, which is when you're new to that condition, it's very annoying. It's always annoying, but you get used to it. So, I mean, the short story of it is, 21 years ago, I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes out of nowhere. Wow. So I was 27 years old, and I was living just a regular life, thinking my life was fine and I'm healthy. And all of a sudden, my blood sugars started getting out of whack. And over the course of several months, I got really ill and lost a ton of weight. I had every symptom, extreme thirst, lethargic. I was at work, like falling asleep at work. I used to drive forklifts in a warehouse, and I would just like doze off. And I'm like, what's going on? Like, crazy. And I had a young child at the time. I thought it was just, hey, I'm a new dad. I got all this stuff going on. Like but I didn't recognize it.
Fatigue or something
exactly.
Like that.
Didn't recognize it. Anyway, I find out that I have type 1 diabetic, through blood work eventually. And it was just a total shock to me. So at that moment, I had to just completely change the way I live my life.
Yeah.
So, and ever since, I've been living as a type 1 diabetic, somebody that lives with that condition. It's crazy. So what it does is basically your pancreas stops making insulin. So the insulin takes, like when you eat carbs or sugars, the insulin takes the carbs and sugars and converts it into cell energy. So it's where you get your energy in your life.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's how the food works, right? And in your bloodstream and stuff. So without that, your blood sugars, the sugars in your blood, basically build up. And also, you're not getting any of those nutrients or anything from, because there's no insulin.
Yeah.
There's nothing. The insulin is the mechanism that converts everything.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Using through your pancreas. So without that, your blood sugars go super high. Okay. So type 1 diabetes, your pancreas just stops making insulin. It's a mystery. They don't know why.
It's nothing that you were doing, like you'd had
no one.
habits
It's
or anything?
unsolved.
Wow.
No one even knows what causes this disease, really.
Yeah.
It's an autoimmune disease. All of a sudden, your body just stops making insulin.
Wow.
I have all my theories, but I just don't know. You know, I can only look back on my life and say, what did I do here? What was my?
Yeah.
Where was I? Is it somewhere where you live? For me, I think it was things like tobacco use. Like I chewed tobacco for a long time, or sugar. I've always been addicted to sugar.
Oh, okay.
These are things that someone would say, oh, doesn't correlate. But when I used to eat so much sugar as a kid. I'm like, did I overblow my system? You know, did I blow it out?
Into overdrive.
And I don't know. So the point is you don't know. No one knows.
Yeah.
And it's typically called juvenile diabetes because a lot of times kids and even babies will have it.
Okay.
So, but now much more in today's society, people get it older in life even. So there's 2 types of diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is when your body stops making insulin. 5% of all diabetics are that.
Gotcha.
You to live, you have to give yourself insulin every day.
How many times a day?
However many times I eat carbs.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a constant thing.
Yeah.
95% of diabetics are type 2 diabetes, which is typically when your body still makes insulin, but your body doesn't use the mechanism's broken because of obesity.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So people that lose weight, it's proven now. If you lose weight, you're type 2 diabetic. You lose weight, you can lose diabetes completely.
Because you're still making insulin.
It's kind of a different. It's kind of a different disease.
Yeah.
So me, I just immediately had to start living life taking insulin. So what that means is there's different delivery mechanisms. Some people you might see wear a pump. I don't wear a pump. I just have a syringe and a vial of insulin that I have with me at all times. If I eat, let's say I eat something bad, and let's say it's a chocolate chip cookie.
Yeah.
I'm just going to give you a math example. 40 grams of carbs, let's say.
Yeah.
Pretty, just a decent sized cookie.
Standard.
Yeah. A lot of sugar, right?
Yeah.
If I don't eat that, my blood sugars will go through the roof. And what I mean by that is typically mine are like between 80, let's say it's parts per million blood, to 120. I'm just giving you a range.
Yeah.
Like for you, yours is probably like 70 to 100 or 110. That's a normal person. Mine's range is always a little higher. But if I ate that without giving myself insulin, within for me, and this is different for everyone, but within 30 minutes, my blood sugar could be over 200.
And what happens then?
I immediately start feeling tired and lethargic.
Wow.
So when your blood sugar gets high, you feel really worn. It's like, I almost explain it as like if you had, this isn't really what it is, but if you have like thick blood and nothing's it's like, just feel terrible, in a sense.
Yeah.
And so when you're diagnosed as a type 1, you have that feeling for months. That's the feeling I had, but for like 6 months, and they can test that.
Man, yeah.
So they saw that I had it for a long time. I was just living through this zombie land,
Yeah.
So now if I don't take insulin, I go back into those ranges. And the sad part is many people who don't take care of themselves are living in those ranges all the time.
Yeah.
It's very dangerous to your organs as well.
Yeah. So that was going to be my question. What happens over time if you don't take care of that?
Well, a type 1 diabetic's organs they're not great anyway. So the prospects of living as long of a life as most isn't the greatest, but it's because of the wear and tear on your heart and your kidneys and your pancreas.
Yeah.
It's because of the volatility, the up and downs. And even so the key to managing type 1 diabetes is try to keep the level just as your pancreas keeps your level like this. I have to somehow do that artificially.
Yeah.
And that's tricky because, to go back to your question, if I'm training, when you train, that's going to affect how your body works. Well, your pancreas handles the balancing.
Yeah.
Mine doesn't have that. So adrenaline can, I tell the story on my podcast, but like when I would compete, it was some of the toughest times. So just to step back before that, if I eat that cookie and I give myself the appropriate dosage of insulin, which I've calculated over time with error.
Yep.
So you so if I'm eating 10 grams, I give myself 1 unit in a syringe, 1 unit. So let's say I give myself 4 units for that cookie. If I hit the mark, it's kind of a crapshoot.
Oh,
if I'm good,
yeah.
if I get it perfect, my blood sugar might not change that much.
Yeah.
If I give myself too much insulin and the cookie and it overtakes all of the carbs and sugars in my blood, my sugars go down, my blood sugar goes down. And that can be deadly on the spot.
Yeah.
So if you ever see a diabetic that's passed out, that's why if they're still coherent, you have to give them like a Coke or something with sugar immediately.
Gotcha.
That's the dangerous part. High blood sugar you can live with for months. It'll kill you, but you'll be living with it for months before it does.
Yeah.
Low blood sugar, like if I just get my insulin right now and I give myself a shot of high dose and I don't eat, I could be dead in an hour.
Whoa.
So that's
scary.
That's what people don't know, but that's the balance, so that I, like on a competition day, I would barely ever eat, because if let's just say I think I'm calculating it right and I give myself the insulin and adrenaline does this or that and I get out there. And so it's always a balance. So I always have to be in very good health to even compete and accept a competition.
Yeah.
For me though, what would happen was typically adrenaline would shoot mine up. So I would and I wouldn't even eat that day, which is it never goes up unless I eat without insulin.
Yeah.
Like that's just how my body works. If I'm fasting, it never goes up. It doesn't do that. That's not how it works. Adrenaline though, it made my blood sugar shoot up. So it was like, I was at Master Worlds one year and it was like 250. And immediately I was just, because I knew, I was like, why am I feeling like this?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, because now I'm in the middle of competing at Master Worlds. And I'm like, do I give myself insulin? Because if now I don't have food on my body, okay, so I didn't eat anything. If I give myself insulin to combat the high sugars, that's very much a crapshoot.
Wow.
Because now I'm messing with the calculation. Now I'm just using insulin to get my levels down, and then it can go too far.
Holy crap.
So
that is scary, man.
It is. It's very, and there's a lot of athletes that compete in professional sports now with type 1 diabetes, but it's very much something you're always tuned in, or you die.
Yeah, there's actually a cycling team that I read about years ago. They were called Team Type 1.
Yeah.
It was all type 1 diabetics that were, that were cyclists.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Crazy.
Dude, yeah, that's like effort, to the whatever degree. That's pretty wild, man. I never knew that. I never knew that. Well, you and I had talked about you having, diabetes, but I never knew how it affected you, especially like I always think about food, right? You counter food, you just whatever. Yeah. But does a carnivore diet or a no carb diet kind of help you?
Tremendously.
Okay.
In fact, what's his name? David Carr, the former NFL player.
Yeah.
His brother plays now, but his story is interesting because his kids, I think he has 3 or 4 kids. 3 of them had diabetes.
Whoa.
So, and his wife and he didn't, type 1.
Okay.
So it obviously ran in the family. After his kids had already had it, he gets it like a few years ago. He realizes he has it.
Whoa.
So he later in life, like myself, he found out about it. So obviously it came through his gene pool.
Yeah.
So now there's like 4 of them. They have an Instagram. It's like 4 of them deal with this condition. But he almost never takes insulin because he never eats carbs, which is genius. And to be honest, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Again, I've been addicted to sugar forever. So I've been done keto before.
Yeah.
It's tough to never have carbs.
Yeah.
But it is very good for my condition. So I will typically stick with a low carb diet.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm always like, I don't ever drink sugar, not a Gatorade, never drinking sugar. I just have to consider it. I can have, like, if we're having a birthday party and there's a piece of cake, I can have that. I have to calculate how many carbs is in that. And then I give myself insulin and everything's okay. But it's just not as good as not doing it.
Yeah.
So it's like everything else. So it's just, it's really just luckily I train and teach a lot in the mornings with Jiu Jitsu. So I've always done that. And in the morning time, it's some of my it's a stable time for me. And I've never eaten in the morning.
I was going to ask you, are you fasted? Yeah.
So I'm basically doing fasted cardio for the last 10 years.
That's awesome.
So, and then, and it's good for me in terms of that condition because I'm not giving myself insulin. I test my blood sugar in the morning, every morning, and then I go from there. And typically it's in a good range and I just go train and it doesn't. Now, everyone's different. Some people can get out there and maybe have like a little adrenaline dump even during training.
Yeah.
And they might have, so I have a young man, a good friend of mine. His son recently got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes, and it's like, it was kind of serendipitous because this is a good friend of mine in the gym, George.
Yeah,
You know
George. Yeah.
He his son got diagnosed, so here I am as like somebody that can talk to him about, and he trains.
Oh,
his son.
cool. Okay.
So he started competing this year, and so
Yeah.
it's been a cool journey because I've seen him try to he's managing for the first year of his life this condition, and he's going out and competing, testing in between, doing what I had to do as an adult. There's a child doing this, a kid, so it's been cool. And I like to, there's some type 1 diabetes, Jiu Jitsu Instagram groups.
I was going to ask you if you're part of any groups like that.
Yeah. There's some out there. So people share experiences, and what I've seen, everyone's experience is so different.
Yeah.
And it really is because of the lifestyle, so it's something that if you can, you just got to manage it.
Yep.
If you're not managing it, it can screw up other parts of your life.
Yeah.
If your health isn't there, but it's always right there. It's always in the forefront, and it's just how I have to do it. I tell people I've done the finger prick blood tests tens of thousands of times, and then giving yourself insulin. So needles don't bother me at all because that's my whole life. But what choice did I have? Not one,
Yeah.
I mean, I had a couple, but right away in the hospital, I was like, oh, I have to change my life now.
Yeah.
And that's just what I did. And I never looked back. I mean, and you got to do is live as comfortably as you can without stressing about a chronic condition like that, and just go forward.
Yeah.
And it really has made me who I am, because I just realized how valuable life is now. It's time to, like you said, now have this podcast, enjoy it. It's like live your best life every day. Today,
Absolutely.
And that's what I do now. It's like, I want to do I'm the only, you only have so much time to do these things,
Yeah.
When you're younger, you always think I have so much time.
Got a million years.
Yeah. I'll just do that later. Or I'll be able to do that. No, you got to start, and you got to start enjoying it, because time here on earth is finite. So,
So, and along those lines, man, obviously time is finite. People are living a little longer than they used to, but you and I will never have to go to our graves wondering what if.
Exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. This is like, win or lose, I've already won. You know what I mean? I don't have to, it's going to play out the way it's going to play out. So that's pretty cool.
Jiu-Jitsu does that for you too. It's like you've accomplished something so great because you challenge yourself for so long. It's so satisfying.
It is.
That's why people really that's the honesty of why people love Jiu-Jitsu, is because it's so damn challenging. And it's something that you can be proud of. That we don't get too much of that in life.
Yeah.
So when you get that through jiu-jitsu and then you realize, oh, I'm going to do this as long as I can.
Yeah.
It's much more of a fulfilled life.
It really
when you
is,
go to the grave.
It really is.
Because jiu-jitsu is fulfilling like
it
that,
is.
right?
Yep. Absolutely. And then forget it, you get the opportunity to mentor people. Like you're mentoring somebody in the best way possible. Someone that's basically going to start living the life you've been living for the past, what's it, 10 years, 20 years?
22 years.
22 years. And basically he's got a wealth of knowledge. Like, hey, what do you think about this? And you can just, hey, you know what? When I did that, everybody's an individual. However, that's so valuable. And man, and jiu-jitsu kind of brought you together.
Totally.
It's
crazy.
Yeah.
It's a cool story. And I take pride in being a role model for him too.
Yeah.
Just from afar, he does take my classes. I'm one of his coaches, but it's just, I know he looks up to me and says, hey, this guy he did it.
Yeah.
That's it. I had diabetes when I started jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
It was a concern.
Yeah.
So I did.
I'm sure.
Yeah. So, but it can be done, you put your mind to it and, be safe and smart about it.
I love it, man. Well, listen, we got to close on that one. I apologize. I feel like we could go another hour and a half, but I have a hard stop at 4:00. So,
I'd love to come back.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back again. But before you leave, we do a lightning round of questions. There are no wrong answers on this. It just answer as quickly as you can. All right. All right, here we go. Name a game show you think you could actually win.
Price is Right.
What's your favorite cheat meal?
Matty G's.
Ooh, nice. What's the longest you've gone without brushing your teeth?
Half a day.
Really nice. Okay. What's your go-to karaoke song?
Wish You Were Here.
Ooh, very good. What's a dumb song you secretly like?
Miley Cyrus, Bangers album.
Do you kill bugs or yell for help? That's a different one. Everybody. So sleep in or take a nap?
Definitely take a nap. I
Take a
never
nap.
sleep in.
Nice. Use a public restroom or hold it?
I'll use a public restroom.
Okay. Would you rather travel into the future or back in time?
Back in time.
Rolling Stones or Elvis?
Rolling Stones.
DC or Marvel?
Oh, man. DC.
What's your favorite child TV show?
Flintstones.
Oh, nice. Okay. It was somebody on the podcast, I can't remember who it was, said the A-Team. I was like, oh,
Yes.
yeah, I love the A-Team.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, there's so many.
yeah. Well, listen, and thank you so much for doing this, man. I really appreciate it. I'm glad we can make it happen. I
Yeah,
know we had a
sure.
couple of snafus on the scheduling on my part, but Paul, thank you so much for doing this, and congratulations on the apparel company, and I wish you all the success in the world, man.
Thanks for having me on, man.
Pleasure.